Welcome to Priestess Initiations, the Goddess Coven. I'm Casey Dunn, educator, priestess, and professional somatic therapist. In April 2025, I went through a priestess initiation of old and launched the Priestess Initiations podcast 6 months later. Whatever brought you here today, I invite you to drop into the spiral with me. Let's begin. Welcome back to Priestess Initiations, the Goddess Coven. I'm Casey, this is episode 12, and today we're talking about what the body remembers and what it needs us to know. In episode 10, I told you about the fall, about holding the rope with both hands, the burns, the 22 skin grafts, about how my body was shattered and had to be reassembled. But here's what I didn't tell you. My body has been teaching me for years. Long before the fall, since I was a child really, and it's still teaching me now. Because everything we've talked about in this season, the goddess initiations, the shadow work, the descents, the transformations, all of that lives in your body. Not just in your mind or your soul, in your tissues, in your nervous system, in your cells. This episode is about somatics. The study and practice of the body as a living, remembering, knowing entity. But I want to be clear, I'm not your therapist here, and this isn't therapy. This is spiritual and psychological teaching that honors the body as sacred text. If you're dealing with trauma, chronic pain, chronic illness, or anything that requires medical or therapeutic support, please work with professionals who can hold that with you. I'm a priestess and a teacher, and I have training in body psychotherapy and somatics. And while I'm a therapist in my professional work, in this space, I'm teaching, not treating. So what I'm offering here is education, perspective, and invitation to listen to what your body is trying to tell you. So before we get into it, here's your mini astrology report, and it speaks directly to this work of embodiment. This week, we're building toward Sunday's new moon in Capricorn, a potent reset for the structures we're building, including the structure of our bodies and how we inhabit them. This is your moment to plant seeds for what you're constructing in the world. And Capricorn rules the bones, joints, the skeletal system that literally holds us upright. What does your body need you to build differently? For new moon initiates on Patreon, keep an eye out for your monthly new moon ritual guide dropping soon. But first, on Saturday morning, Venus shifts from earthy Capricorn into innovative Aquarius. And that's asking, what if we valued the unconventional? What if beauty, including the beauty of our bodies, looked like experimentation rather than conformity? By Sunday's new moon, you're ready to build something both grounded and revolutionary in your work, your purpose, and the legacy you're planning for future you. All Patreon members can get the full list of this week's transits posted every Monday at 11:11 a.m. so you can track the cosmic weather all week long. All right, so let's begin, starting with the science, because this isn't woo-woo, this is neurobiology. Your body remembers everything. Every experience, every emotion, every trauma, every initiation, it all gets encoded in your tissues. This happens through something called implicit memory. Unlike explicit memory, which is the conscious recollection of events, implicit memory is stored in the body, in your muscles, your fascia, your nervous system, your gut. You don't consciously remember it, but your body does. When you experience something overwhelming, trauma, loss, violation, extreme stress, your nervous system can't always process it in that moment. So it stores it in the tension of your shoulders, your hips, your jaw, in the fat of your belly, and it stays there until you give it a way out. This is why you can forget something traumatic and then suddenly feel it in your body years later. You didn't forget. Your conscious mind moved on, but your body and your unconscious mind held it. And this isn't just about personal trauma. You also carry intergenerational trauma, the unprocessed pain of your ancestors that gets passed down through DNA, through epigenetics, through nervous system patterns learned in the womb and in early childhood. Your grandmother's fear, your great-grandfather's rage, your mother's grief, your father's shame, it lives in you, in your cells, in the way your body responds to the world. This is what the research on intergenerational trauma shows us. Descendants of Holocaust survivors, descendants of enslaved peoples, descendants of war survivors, who are the people that have currently been studied the most, those populations, their bodies carry the trauma of their ancestors, even if they never consciously knew the stories. And for those of us who are adopted, like myself, we carry multiple lineages. My body holds my birth mother's trauma, my birth father's trauma, my parents' trauma, and all the ancestors behind them. 4 lineages converging in my tissues. So when I talk about the goddesses, Persephone, Lilith, Medusa, Hecate, Isis, I'm not just talking about myths or archetypes. I'm talking about energies, experiences, and initiations that live in my body and in yours. Persephone's descent, I feel that in my body, in that dropping heavy sensation of grief. Lilith's rage, I feel that in my jaw, my fists, the tightness in my body. Medusa's gaze is in my eyes, my neck, the power of looking directly at what wants to harm me. Hecate's crossroads, I feel that in my body, in my feet, in my sternum, in the straightening of the spine, rooted but not yet moving, in this waiting place. Isis's reassembly, right? I feel that in my hands, literally after the fall, but also in the way that my hands reach out together to hold, to create. The body is not separate from the spiritual journey. The body is the journey. So Susan Aposhian, who founded the body psychotherapy program at Naropa University, which I went to, calls this embodiment practice listening to sensations in your body and allowing them to return to their natural physiological functioning through breath, movement, rest, and voice. It's not about controlling your body or forcing it to behave. It's about giving your sensations permission to move, to complete, to be what they need to be. And this is what I learned in my training. Development is the core principle for change. You can't think your way into a new nervous system pattern. You can't analyze your way out of chronic pain. You have to develop through it. By feeling the sensations, by moving them, by letting your body teach you what it knows. So what happens when your body's been holding too much for too long? It crashes. But for me, my body had been trying to tell me things long before I was ready to listen. I've had allergies since I was very young, so young I don't even remember a time without them. I currently get allergy shots to manage them. But even as a small child, my immune system was reactive, hypersensitive to the world around me. By the time I was 8, maybe earlier, I was having severe headaches, light sensitivity, pain that would lay me out. And when I was in 5th grade, doctors finally diagnosed them as migraines. It was kind of fun because I got to have Mountain Dew in the nurse's office. But now I understand that they were likely severe tension headaches. My body holding stress I had no way to express, amplified by being a highly sensitive person. And maybe psychic suppression. All that intuitive knowing, all that energetic sensitivity that I had no framework for as a child, no way to understand or regulate. Because here's what we're learning now in a field called Psychoneuroimmunology, the study of how the nervous system and immune system are interconnected. When your nervous system is dysregulated, your immune system struggles. When you're chronically stressed, chronically overwhelmed, your body's ability to protect itself breaks down. This might seem obvious, but this is actually a cutting-edge field. And for highly sensitive people, especially highly sensitive children, we take in too much. We absorb other people's emotions. We're overwhelmed by lights, sounds, textures, energies. And if we don't have tools to process and release what we're taking in, it gets stuck in our nervous system, in our tissues, and eventually in our immune system. And next week, my friend April is coming on, and she's a coven sister of mine who works with highly sensitive people. And we will be talking about the witch wound and a little bit more about Hecate. Of course, we can't talk about the witch wound without Hecate, but also about how that relates to highly sensitive people. And I'll be explaining a little bit more about what that is. Yeah. So our immune system and our tissues and our nervous system, everything we're taking in gets stuck there. And it was years later that I learned about something called pain reprocessing therapy. Very new research again, showing that in about 85% of chronic pain cases, there's no structural damage causing the pain. The pain is real, very real, but it's neuroplastic. And that means that the brain has learned to generate pain signals even after an injury heals. And the revolutionary part, the brain can unlearn it. And this isn't mind over matter or positive thinking. This is neuroscience. The pain is real. All pain is felt and processed in the brain. I'm going to repeat that. All pain is felt and processed in the brain, whether there's structural damage or not in the body. And pain reprocessing therapy teaches you to relate to pain differently, not as a threat, but as a sensation, to notice it without fear, to remind your nervous system, you're safe. This is a false alarm. And for me, this understanding was huge. Though, of course, there's some resistance because when you've been living with chronic illness for a long time, you've probably gone to so many doctors who have told you your pain is not real, that it's in your head. This is not the same thing as that. Because my fibromyalgia and my chronic headaches, they weren't signs that my body was failing. They were signs that my nervous system had learned to amplify danger signals because I'd been living in chronic stress, chronic overwhelm, chronic hypersensitivity since childhood. And when I started working with my pain this way, tracking the sensations without fear, reassuring my nervous system that I was safe, understanding the connection between my emotions and my pain, things shifted. Not overnight, but gradually, my body started to trust that it didn't need to keep screaming at me to keep me safe. And that's what it feels like for any of you who live with chronic pain. It does sometimes feel like your body is screaming at you, right? But it doesn't need to scream if you're able to listen to a whisper. So that was me, a highly sensitive child in a busy, overstimulating world with no framework for understanding my sensitivity or my psychic awareness. And my body tried to tell me through headaches, through allergies, through pain. At 13, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is chronic widespread pain, a hypersensitive nervous system that amplifies pain signals. And at 13, I was already holding a lot. There's the adoption wound, of course, but there was also this pressure to perform, to be good, to fit in. I was just about to start high school within the next year. And the weirdest thing was I had to take all these honors classes in like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade to qualify to get into the right honors class in high school as a prerequisite to AP classes. 6th graders should not be thinking about that. 7th graders should not be thinking about that. But at 13, my grandfather passed. One of my sisters went off to a residential school, and my mom went back to work full time. And my dad became a stay-at-home dad for a year, which was weird. And my body said, I can't hold this anymore. This is too much change too fast. My parents are both doctors, so I grew up with the privilege, and it is a privilege in this country when it should be a human right, of access to excellent medical care. I went to many doctors, I got many tests, blood work, imaging, specialists, and most of the time they found nothing. Or they'd say, maybe it's an unspecified autoimmune disorder. We're not sure. I wasn't rejecting Western medicine, but Western medicine didn't have answers for me. It offered band-aids, medications or exercises to manage symptoms, but it didn't address what was happening underneath, which was my nervous system was dysregulated. My body was holding trauma, stress, and overwhelm that I didn't know how to process. So fast forward to my early 20s, after Costa Rica, after my system crashed, and I think I talked about that a little bit in an earlier episode, but maybe Persephone's, but more diagnoses came in. Hypothyroidism, PCOS, there was a major fibromyalgia flare, and years later, endometriosis. And I also had mold exposure in Costa Rica. And so, of course, that unspecified autoimmune really kicked up. And there was a lot of weight gain very rapidly at that time, even though I was doing the Whole30 diet to try to stop it. So I took medications for a while for my thyroid, for allergies, for various symptoms. And I'm not anti-medication. If you need it, take it. Medication can be life-saving. But for me, as I started doing holistic healing work, coming off medications was part of that process. And each time I came off a medication, gradually, carefully, with medical support, I felt better, more like myself, more connected to my body. Because for me, what my body actually needed wasn't more medication. What my body needed was plant medicine, herbs, supplements, natural support that we've forgotten about in our pharmaceutical-focused culture. Working with a functional medicine doctor and acupuncturists who helped me understand what my body was deficient in, what it needed to regulate inflammation, support my thyroid, balance my hormones. My body needed energy work. Until I learned to maintain my own energy field, I needed practitioners who could help me clear what I was absorbing, help me regulate, tune my system. Reiki, cranial sacrotherapy, acupuncture, it didn't matter which modality for me. They all worked. And sometimes I still need an energy work tune-up. There's no shame in that, but I don't need it regularly anymore. And I needed rest, deep rest, not just sleep. The sleep hygiene became non-negotiable, very pro blackout curtains. But rest is in stopping, slowing down, honoring my body's rhythms, letting myself have downtime and not pushing through exhaustion. And this was a big one, food as medicine, working with food sensitivities, learning what inflames my body and what nourishes it. And this isn't diet culture. This is my body functions better when I don't eat things that trigger inflammation. And there is a high correlation, supposedly. You'd have to look this up yourself. I'm not a medical doctor. But there's supposedly a high correlation between gluten sensitivities and endometriosis. And that's definitely been the case for me. And I needed movement that feels good. Walking, dancing, gentle, joyful movement. Not punishment exercise. And exercise can feel punishing when you've lived with chronic pain for a long time. So gentle movement, swimming, dancing. Dancing is my favorite. And then I needed nervous system regulation, somatic work, breath work, learning how to help my body shift out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. And perhaps most importantly, I needed to stop hating my body, stop fearing it. Pain reprocessing therapy, which didn't come out until years after I'd already begun this work, but has felt really validating and is something that I got trained in, teaches that fear of pain increases pain. And I needed to stop fighting my own body. I needed to stop seeing my sensitivity, my pain, my conditions as failures or flaws. Because my body wasn't failing me. My body was trying to protect me the only way it knew how. My highly sensitive nervous system, my reactive immune system, these weren't problems. They were adaptations. They were my body saying, the world is too much. You're taking in too much. You need to slow down. You need to support yourself. And once I started listening, once I started working with my body instead of against it, things shifted. My thyroid is now regulated naturally through addressing underlying inflammation, through nervous system work. That took years, but I don't need thyroid supplements anymore. And I still have fibromyalgia, though it only flares less than twice a year, and usually for less than a week now, which is astronomical. Anyone who has fibromyalgia, that's like your goal. And I still have PCOS, which I manage naturally through supplements, through movement. And I still manage endometriosis, though I did have surgery for that. But I'm currently pretty healthy. I do pelvic physical therapy. Thank you to my PT. She's incredible. I take supplements. I get allergy shots. That's it. No other medications needed at this point. And I honor my body. I listen to its rhythms. I rest when it needs rest. I move when it needs movement. I get energy work when my field feels off. I eat foods that support me and make me feel good, not that I'm told I should by Instagram models. I manage stress carefully because I know my nervous system and my immune system are intimately connected. This isn't a I healed myself through positive thinking story. This is an I learned to listen to my body and give it what it actually needs story. This is an I stopped fighting my sensitivity and started honoring it story. And if you're someone with chronic illness, chronic pain, conditions that Western medicine can't fully explain or just wants to medicate, I want you to know there might be another way. Not instead of Western medicine, but alongside it, integrating the best of what Western medicine offers with holistic approaches that address nervous system, energy body, emotional body, and ancestral patterns. Your body is not your enemy. Your sensitivity is not a flaw, and your immune system is not failing you. Your body is trying to tell you something. And when you learn to listen, when you give it what it needs, whether that's rest, support, energy work, plant medicine, nervous system regulation, and most of all, kindness, your body can start to remember wholeness. So let's talk about something that's hard to talk about. Weight, as in fat, the way the body holds mass. Because here's something I've learned that shifted everything for me and is still shifting things for me. And that's that sometimes the body holds weight to protect us. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice, but I've done enough somatic work, enough nervous system work, enough trauma work to understand this. Fat tissue can be protective. When your nervous system perceives threat, chronic stress, past trauma, ongoing danger, it can signal the body to hold on to resources. It often does this through cortisol, but to store energy to create a physical buffer between you and the world. For some people, this shows up as weight gain or difficulty losing weight, even when they're doing supposedly all the right things. And the cultural narrative says you're lazy, you're undisciplined, you lack willpower. But what if it's not that? What if your body's trying to keep you safe? What if your body remembers the times you weren't safe and it's holding on to mass as armor, as insulation, as survival? I've learned, and I'm still learning, to see my fat tissue this way. Not as something wrong with me, but as something my body is doing for me, trying to protect me, trying to keep me here. So after Costa Rica, when my system crashed and I was diagnosed with PCOS and hypothyroidism and that mold exposure, I gained a significant amount of weight in a relatively short period of time. And I've slowly lost some of it since then, but not all. And that was like almost a decade ago. And here's what's hard. I'm still on the journey of body love. I'm still unlearning thinness culture. I'm still working with the internalized shame, the judgments, the shoulds about what my body's supposed to look like. I haven't arrived. I'm in process. And that's okay. Because the work isn't to hate your body into submission. The work isn't to force your body to be smaller, quieter, more palpable. The work is to listen, to ask, what are you trying to tell me? What do you need? What are you protecting me from? And sometimes the answer is, I need you to rest. I need you to slow down. I need you to stop trying to be someone you're not. I need you to let me be soft, be big, be here. This is hard in a culture that profits from our self-hatred, that tells us our bodies are projects to be fixed, sculpted, controlled. But your body is not a project. Your body's your home, and it's trying to keep you safe. So if the body remembers trauma, holds pain, stores protection, how do we help it release? How do we help it integrate? How do we work with the body instead of against it? For me, part of the answer has been movement, but not the punishing kind, not the burn calories, build muscle, get smaller kind. Movement as prayer, movement as release, movement as play, and movement as conversation with my body. And I found this in a few ways. I like hiking, I like swimming, certain types of yoga I'm a big fan of, but I really found this through ecstatic dance. And ecstatic dance is free form movement. No steps, no choreography, no right or wrong. You put on music and you let your body move however it wants to move. Sometimes it's big and wild. Sometimes it's tiny and subtle. Sometimes you're on the floor. Sometimes you're spinning. Sometimes you're just swaying. And for someone with fibromyalgia, with chronic pain, with a body that often feels resistant, ecstatic dance gave me a way back into my body. Because here's the thing. When movement is about performance or achieving a goal, it feels like punishment. It feels like one more thing your body has to do. But when movement is about listening, asking your body what it wants, how it wants to move, what it needs to express, it becomes healing. Ecstatic dance taught me that my body has wisdom, that it knows how to release what's stuck, that it wants to move, even when I think it doesn't. And here's what's beautiful about ecstatic dance. It's play. It's joy. It's not serious, controlled, disciplined movement. It's letting yourself be silly, be weird, be free. It's letting your inner child come out and dance like no one's watching, even when people are watching. And when you do it in community, in a room full of people also moving freely, also letting themselves be seen in their awkwardness and their beauty and their humanness, there's something profoundly healing about that. You realize, I'm not alone in this body. We're all in bodies. We're all trying to figure out how to be here, how to move, how to be alive in these bodies. And we can do it together. We can play together. Deb Donna, who translates polyvagal theory for anyone wanting to understand their nervous system into language people can understand, calls this co-regulation, which is when our nervous systems sync with each other. When being in the presence of someone else's regulated state helps your own system settle. Dancing in community isn't just fun, it's nervous system medicine. Play is medicine. Play is how we regulate our nervous systems, and play is how we remember that being in a body can be joyful, not just painful or effortful. And the other movement practice that's been essential for me is, of course, walking in nature. Not power walking, not exercising, though there are some times when I really want to hike, like my body wants to go harder, and I let it. But most of the time it's just walking, somewhat slowly, honestly. Letting my body find its own rhythm, letting my feet touch the earth, and letting my nervous system regulate through the steady, repetitive motion. And sometimes walking feels really easy. And then sometimes there are days when it still feels hard. In winter, if I'm having a fibromyalgia flare, fatigue, my body feeling heavy. But I've learned that I don't have to force it. I can walk for 5 minutes. I can walk slowly. I can stop and rest. The goal isn't fitness for me. The goal is relationship. Relationship with my body, relationship with the earth, and relationship with movement is something my body gets to do, not something it has to do. And when I move this way, gently, slowly, listening, playing, my body starts to release. The tightness in my shoulders softens. The pain in my hips eases. And the grief I didn't know I was holding comes up and out through tears, through breath, through the simple act of walking on the ground or dancing in a room with other people. This is somatic integration. This is how trauma leaves the body, not through thinking about it, not through understanding it, but through moving it, breathing it, feeling it, playing with it, and letting it go. And then there's the fall. I told you in episode 10 about the rope burning my hands, about Isis's reassembly and Lilith's survival rage. But what I didn't explore totally fully was, what did my body learn? What did my hands teach me? Because here's the thing, my hands remember everything. They remember the rope, the burn, the choice not to let go, the pain, the surgery, the bandages, the healing, the scars. And they remember more than that. They remember every time I've held on when I should have let go. Every time I've gripped too tight out of fear. Every time I've tried to control something that wasn't mine to control. My hands have always been the part of me that does, that creates, that holds, that cares for others. And the fall forced me to stop. For a month, I couldn't use my hands at all. I couldn't work, I couldn't create, I couldn't care for myself. And my body taught me, you don't have to earn your worth through doing. You're allowed to just be. You're allowed to receive. My hands also taught me about resilience, about the body's capacity to heal, to regenerate, to remember wholeness, even after being shattered. I exceeded medical expectations. I healed faster and better than predicted. And I know it's because I've been doing somatic work for all of these years and working with my body holistically, because my body knows how to heal, and it's been healing itself from chronic conditions since I was a child. It knows the way. My body knows how to heal because I've been teaching it through breath work, through movement, through rest, through energy work, through letting myself feel instead of numbing, through plants and supplements and nervous system regulation, and most of all, through listening. And my hands taught me about scars, about how healing doesn't mean erasing what happened. My hands are scarred. They always will be, but the scars are part of the story, part of the journey, part of the proof that I survived. The body remembers, and sometimes that remembering is painful. But sometimes that remembering is also medicine. Because when the body remembers how to survive, how to heal, how to gather the pieces, it teaches the soul how to do the same. So let's close with a somatic meditative practice, a conversation with your body. If it's safe for you to do so, place your hands on your body. Maybe on your heart, maybe on your belly, maybe on a place that holds tension or pain. Take a breath. Ask your body, what do you remember? Don't think about the answer, just notice what arises. Maybe it's a sensation, maybe it's an emotion, maybe it's an image or memory, maybe it's nothing at all. Whatever comes, let it be. Now ask, what do you need me to know? Again, just listen. Your body might tell you it's tired, it might tell you it's angry, it needs rest or movement or touch or space. Whatever it tells you, receive it without judgment. And finally ask, what do you need from me right now? Maybe it's a drink of water, maybe it's a stretch, maybe it's permission to cry, maybe it's just acknowledgement. I see you, I hear you, I'm here. Take one more breath. And thank your body for speaking to you, for holding you, for remembering so you don't have to carry it all in your mind. Your body is not your enemy. Your body is not failing you. Your body is doing its best to keep you alive, to keep you safe, to teach you what you need to know. Listen to it. Everything we explore here lives in practice. There's a link in the episode description for our free website resources where you'll find our embodiment library, which is awesome to talk about after this episode. There are, I need to look up how many, but there's at least 15. I think there's way more than that though. Free embodiment practices that I've written out on there, step by step. And if this work's serving you and you want to support the podcast, I have a Patreon where you get, of course, our new weekly astrology transits. But you can also get monthly new moon rituals, the ability to list your business in our Coven shop, and more. That link is also in the episode description and in our bio. Remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Trust the spiral. This podcast offers spiritual and psychological education and priestess wisdom. This is not therapy, counseling, or mental health treatment. If you need mental health support, please contact a licensed provider. In a mental health emergency in the U.S., call 988.